Good evening. Let us discuss about 2nd October 2015 newspaper over here. The first one is related to the climate change, and till now India did not give its INDCs. INDC stands for intentional or intended nationally determined contributions. So India always talking about something called as energy intensity. So what does this mean is, for 1% of the GDP growth, how much will be the rise of use of its energy? So that is what is called as energy intensity. So India is going to stabilize this energy intensity, and though the year is not fixed, but that is what is the objective India was telling about. So from the France, which is going to chair the conference in Paris, there is pressure. India has to accept certain emission targets. So India has clearly said that it is not going to keep the emission reductions before its growth. So the first priority is growth for it, as it is a poverty-ridden nation. And the third thing is, if observed carefully, Indian value system is majorly based on reuse and recycle. And also, India is not responsible for the today's situation on climate change. So, most of the responsibilities has to be borne by the people who are responsible for this change. That is what is the India's argument. So India sticks to its common but differentiated responsibilities theme even before declaration of its INDCs. The next is, with regard to the smoky kitchens, most of the rural India, they still suffer from this indoor air pollution. So the indoor air pollution is majorly because of the cooking as an activity. In this context, the government of India has tried various programs from time to time. Biogas is one such a thing. And improved cook stoves is another program. Subsidized LPG cylinders are another program. Now, under the sustainable developmental goals, providing clean energy for all the households is one of the achievable goals. So which we have to achieve by 2030. If you see our progress, even by 2030, at least 40% of Indian households, they will be using this particular biomass material for combustion. So they are kept away from the clean energy. So in this context, an actionable criteria is necessary to achieve these targets. That's what this article argues about. And next is, before the Angela Merkel's visit to India, so India-Germany relationships are analyzed by Mr. Sanjay Baru, who is the author of Accidental Prime Minister. So what he said is, they are going through a phase in India now. India and Germany, they are going through a phase. So he tried to derive how these relations are synergistic. Now, Germany and Japan, after losing the Second World War, they chose to be global economic powerhouses rather than the political powerhouses. But however, from the last decade, the situation is changing. We are trying to assert their geo-economic power into geopolitical too. The recent passage of the Japan security bills, and also Germany taking up the role of leadership in European Union, all these proves this. Now in this context, India and Germany, they have many synergistic relationships. Already, expansion of the UN Security Council, India, Germany, Japan, along with Brazil, they are sitting across the table as G4. Now, on to the other front, both these industrialized countries, they have technology, capital surplus, and aging manpower. Now, if you see India, the result, again, it is opposite. Now, I can see the three levels of economy: factor-induced production, or factor-based economies, efficiency-oriented economies, innovation-oriented economies. Now, Japan and Germany, they are moving from efficiency-oriented economies to innovation-oriented economies. India is still stuck at the factor economy. Now in this context, what India has to do? So it has to gain the technologies and the capital from the West, and its human resources can aid these countries towards further development of their innovation. So there is mutual synergy. That is the reason why they can be natural allies. So there is no competition for the market over here. And they have something to give and something to take from India. Now in this context, with regard to India and European Union, the free trade agreement is a big hurdle. And the next is the climate change talks which are going to be held in Paris. They are very much critical about India and its stand on per capita emission targets. And common but differential responsibilities, they want India to accept certain clear emission targets. Now, Germany, which is leading the European Union from front, it can use its weight behind India, and it can take up an accommodative and developmental policy or developmental stand, which will help India to become an economic superpower, which will further strengthen Germany and Japan. So this is what the visionary leadership has to see. So that is what this article is all about. And next is archives. Now what are these? Recently West Bengal government has brought into open the Subhash Chandra Bose files. Now understand, Official Secrets Act, it is one of the draconian law to serve the purpose of the British Raj. Even now, the remnants of this Official Secrets Act still exists. Though the RTA has replaced this Official Secrets Act, the Section 8 of the RTA Act excludes certain information from disclosure. Now understand, in the greater public interest, certain information can be withheld from the citizens. But however, at some point of time, they have right to know about the governments and their functions. And also it is necessary for history scholars to understand what exactly is transpired and good and bad, learnings and unlearnings. Now if you see in 1962 war, what exactly have transpired in India, why India has lost? It did not come into open till Maxwell gave a detailed account about the Henderson and Brooks report. So it means Indians, they have the right to know. Then only an informed decisions can be made by the people. So most of the developed countries such as US, UK, they have once in 20 years disclosure norms. Any document after 20 years, unless it is topmost secret, it can be devolved or it can be disclosed. It has to be disclosed to the people. So India also, can go forward with those issues. And next is, with regard to India's response to the Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif's 4-point formula for peace in the United Nations General Assembly. Always in the UN General Assembly, the intentions of Pakistan are to internationalize the Kashmir issue. In this context, a peace plan was proposed by Nawaz Sharif. Now the response of India for this is, no peace, no dialogue can happen unless the Pakistan does away from its cross-border terrorism. So, what India talks about is, let the terrorism issue has to be solved before Kashmir issue to be taken up. And Kashmir issue shall not be linked with the other issues. But Pakistan does the same. Now here, because of the efforts of Indian diplomats after 1965 war, especially Natwar Singh, Pardasarathi, and Mr. Sardar Swaran Singh, these people and their efforts, it made the UN not to interfere with regard to the Kashmir issue. And many times it has disclosed that it is a bilateral issue and has to be settled between these two countries. Now India tried to give the reply by raising the situation of the people by raising the issues of the people living in Pak-occupied Kashmir. So it means it appears as a tit for tat. But whatever the advantage India had till date, probably it might be losing. So it means is India played into the hands of the Pakistan by bringing in the other side of the issue to the notice of the House. It means that are you bringing an umpire or a third person into a bilateral issue? So it means India, is it losing its strategic advantage? Is the question over here. And next is, with regard to the United Nations General Assembly, the Palestinian flag raised at UN. So already Palestine has a non-member observer status. So that's why its flag can be raised, and yes. And next is midday meal program. So quality and regularity are the two issues with regard to midday meal program. Now in this context, in primary education, 450 calories plus 12 grams of protein. Similarly, upper primary, it has to be 700 calories plus 20 grams, and it has to be regular. So at least the demand is that 200 days a child shall get a midday meal program. So the quality is more and more stressed over here. This is about today's news. Dear students, with regard to the notes of these topics, I am uploading that on my notes at www.laix.in. So thank you very much for reading this watching these things. And please suggest improvements, we can do that. And I also want to discuss certain model questions related to this. And please read that particular notes. That notes will help you to understand these topics, and don't spend your time on preparing the notes again and again. The reason is this. For example, 1.5 hours to read the newspaper and almost 45 minutes to prepare the notes. It just goes in drain. So take the printout of that handout and keep it for your reference. That is more than sufficient for you. Right? But read the newspaper because you get the control over the terminology. So tomorrow I will try to discuss global competitiveness index. I prepared the notes already on that, and let's have some idea over it. Thank you very much. All the best.